But this weekend marks the start of the American Hockey League season. And what a season it was last year. Tons of young players in the AHL, guys that are high-end prospects, guys that we expect to be NHL stars down the line, played in the AHL last season. And that happens every year. The league just put out, there are 87% of NHL players, 87% of NHL players spent time in the American Hockey League. So it takes a pretty special player to skip this step, which is also instructive as make sure you know what your prospects are before, skipping this kind of important step. There are going to be a number of players under the age of 20 in the AHL. Now, as you know, the CHL-NHL agreement does not allow junior age players to go back to the AHL before they've played their 19-year-old season in the CHL. So QMJHL, OHL, WHL. However, one of the players that was made an exception for just because he was an exceptional status player, there was also the pandemic season, there was all this other stuff, that was Shane Wright. So Shane Wright did not make the Seattle Kraken out of camp. And if that was a surprise to you, I think that you have to go back and look at last season and see just the way things went. Now, Shane Wright, when he was in the AHL last year, looked really, really good. And I'm excited to see what he does with some consistency in his season. Think about the fact that he starts with Seattle. He's in and out of the lineup, gets sent to Coachella Valley, looks great there, but then he goes to the World Juniors, helps Canada win a gold medal, was the captain of the team, was a key figure in a gold medal victory. Wasn't the best player on the team. That was some guy named Connor Bedard, but he made an impact, scored a big goal in the gold medal game as well. And then he returned to Coachella Valley. He goes to Windsor. Windsor flames out of the playoffs, and then he ends up there. He didn't make much of an impact in the playoffs. Then he goes to the Calder Cup playoffs, plays for Coachella Valley again. So it's been a runaround for Shane Wright. So what I hope happens for him, let's think about this. This is a guy who's been scrutinized and under the spotlight for a long time. I think he needs a season of normalcy. He just needs a season where he can kind of figure things out. Now, maybe he becomes available for Canada at the World Juniors, and that might be a good thing for him. But at the same time, we'll see what happens in Coachella Valley. But Shane Wright needs to play. He needs to play a lot. He needs to be put in a lot of different situations. And just because he hasn't been ready for the NHL as quickly as people expected him to be, doesn't mean that he's a prospect that you just kind of forget about. So I do think that Shane Wright has plenty to prove. Again, he's under 20. He'll be one of the youngest players in the AHL this season. Give him time, give him patience. And if you're a Seattle Kraken fan, I guess give him a little bit of love too, because it's not easy when you have all those expectations that he's had on him since he was 15 years old. And now we have to see, him potentially live up to it. And if he needs any inspiration, there are plenty of other guys that needed extra time in the AHL.